reach over to the person next to you and give them a high five and say, I'm proud to be partner with you. And I want you to go to the next side and do a high five and say, I'm proud to be in business with you. Now I want you to look forward, hold your arms straight up, palms toward each other, and slap them together really fast a lot of times. Thank you. You sit down. I'm going to get started. I bet Patrick Mazur is coming up next. Right before I come on, I bet him $1,000 I'd get a standing ovation in the first minute. So my name's Robert Faison. My wife Donna and I are from Arkansas, from a little small town called Mount Vernon, population of 152. Got some hee-haw fans hollered salute. We got married a little over 44 years ago, right out of high school, and went into the dairy business. My dad was a dairy farmer, her dad was a dairy farmer, so that's all we knew. And we did that for, I don't know, several years, and didn't make a lot of money, but learned work ethic, and just learned, I guess I didn't have good quitting sense, so I stayed with it. And then the Lord sent a couple of tornadoes through and wiped everything out. And we went through a forced auction, was left with a six-figure unsecured debt, and a little 12 to 60 mobile home, and a beat-up pickup truck. That's all we had left to our name. And when I say beat up, every body part had a dent in it, okay, if it wasn't missing. And so they called me a local mosquito sprayer. You ever seen a truck, that used more oil than it did gas? Okay, that was mine. You could literally kill it and pull the key out, and it would keep running for a while. And then it would pop real loud, die, the black smoke would roll, and then the front bumper would clank because it was loose. I had people ask me to start it up and kill it again. Just wanted to see it one more time. So anyway, that's kind of where we were, and we always believe the Lord doesn't close the door when He doesn't open a better one, and that happened to us. We was introduced to a home-based business, and we've spent the last, 30 plus years of our life earning our living, I should say earning our life with drink sales. And we was introduced to ACN earlier this year, right toward the beginning of the year. And, I got to say it was a godsend, because the program we had been with for so many years was a little higher ticket item, and with all the changes in the world and doing a lot of it having to do a lot of it online rather than face-to-face, it was very hard to sell that higher ticket item. So it was a breath of fresh air when I saw the lower startup and saw that we wasn't selling something extra. It was simply things that people was paying for anyway. And then I really knew it was a godsend when the night before all this was told to us, Donna and I flew down here to Fort Lauderdale, and we, Robert and Greg from the home office flew in the next day, so did Tony. And we got to meet them, and we got to have dinner with them. Next day, Robert invited me to go golf with him and Mr. Presley out at Trump Doral, this big fancy country club down south. And I knew I was in the right place when this is what happened to me. I was walking into this fancy, glorious, just gorgeous hotel or a country club, and I don't know, I'd been pinching pennies a little bit, I guess, and my golf shoes, the sole had come loose, and I had put a little glue on that and kind of, cramped it down and got it where I could wear them a few more times before I had to buy some new ones. And I stepped in a little bit of water, I guess, and that come loose. And so I'm going through this gorgeous, millionaire-ish country club and walking, and all of a sudden that come loose, and I'm like, ka-flop, ka-flop, and it's echoing. And Robert, being the kind of guy he is, he's got a heart of gold. And remember, we just met, but I don't know if y'all know it, but he carries a wad of cash in his pocket, this big around. $100 bills, big rubber band around it. At home in Arkansas, we say it could choke a mule, okay, big. And he reached in his pocket and pulled all that wad of money out. He said, Robert, let me help you with that. And I said, oh, no, I couldn't take a handout there, Mr. Robert. He said, no, I really do. I want to help you with that. And I said, no, you don't have to do it. He said, I am going to help you with that. He pulled that rubber band off all that money, and he handed it to me and said, if you put that around there, that'll keep that from flopping. So he's got a heart of gold, and I knew I was in the right place at the right time. So that brings me to my subject here. I'm going to talk about the why before the how. I kind of discovered this years ago, building our direct sales business. And you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. I don't believe that, or I do believe that. I also don't believe you can say the wrong thing. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person, but you can't say the right thing to the wrong person. So it's basically a matter of sifting and sorting. And it's how you ask someone, and Mike did a phenomenal job on that this morning, of how to talk to people, how to ask the right questions and so forth. And that's why they do that, why what he was teaching works, is because what I call the why before the how. I'll give you a quick example to get you to understand it. If there were an online ad, you were looking for employment, and one ad said, $400,000 a year salary, car program, paid insurance, and 4 weeks paid vacation. Just show up at this address Monday morning, 8 a.m. Qualifications are a valid driver's license. If you showed up at that, how big a line do you think there'd be? Right? There'd be a lot of people show up for that opportunity that was described. And on that same online search deal, there was another one that said the city of Fort Lauderdale needs a garbage truck driver, and requirements are a valid driver's license. And it didn't say anything else. It said show up at this address Monday morning at 7 o'clock. How big would that line be? Are y'all getting the picture? Almost nobody shows up at the one, and hundreds show up at the other. But what if they were both the same job? What if when you got to the long line and you finally got up there and said, well, so what is it? They said, driving a garbage truck. 4-day work week, $400,000 a year, car, insurance, everything. Okay, it don't matter right now. See, that doesn't matter what it is, because the why was in front. So when we talk to people, we got to make sure that we're picturing that lifestyle and painting that lifestyle. And you do that the day you get in. You have a story to tell. Facts tell and stories sell, and your story starts the day you decided to do this, because there's a reason you decided to do it. You don't have to have accomplished that yet in order for it to be your story. I couldn't see myself working until I was 65 years old doing what I'm doing. And I found a guy that'll teach me, or a gal that'll teach me to get financially independent and debt free and retire early. That's a story. If that was your story, I mean, that's why you did it. You don't have to have accomplished it yet in order for that to be the story. But then that keeps like Mike was talking about, that keeps the curiosity in there to lead up to the meeting. And then you got to promote that meeting. You got to edify that person that's going to be doing your in-home presentation or your Zoom presentation or whatever. And again, I think there's two reasons people don't do this business. One is they don't understand it, and two is they don't understand it. Because if they really knew what we had a hold of, wouldn't they be here and be with us right now? Okay? And so it's the events, and when I say events, it starts with a in-home meeting or a Zoom meeting, and then to a Super Saturday or regional type event, and then to a national convention event. That's what those exposures are what gets someone from being in ACN to getting ACN to be in someone. And when it goes from the head to the heart, that's when what I call whatever it takes happens. What are you going to do? I'm going to just do whatever it takes. I'm going to talk to 50. If that's not enough, I'm going to talk to 100. But what if that don't do it? I'm going to talk to 200. Because that's all it is then, is just numbers of people. Because people make up for lack of skill. Because somebody that doesn't do this very good at all, but talks to 10 times more people, is going to have better results than somebody that is really good at it and talks to one or two. That makes sense? So now it's just people. Now, you know, when we started our first direct sales opportunity, Donna and I went to a meeting like this, and you can use this right this weekend. I promise you it'll work for you. I was excited I sat there just, you know, wide-eyed and grinning, people coming across the stage telling their story, and I said, I'm going to be there one day. I'm going to do that. And I'm brand new. This is my first meeting, right? But I could feel that, and it was in my voice. And I started calling people all weekend. Every time there was a break, I stayed in the room when there was something going on. But every time there was a break, I was on the phone with people at home. And I would do it something like this. Listen, I've only got a minute. Now, I start my conversation that way so it doesn't sound evasive when I want to hang up in a minute. Okay? So, listen, I've only got a minute. Donna and I are over in Memphis. If y'all do that, say Fort Lauderdale right there, okay? I said, listen, Donna and I are over in Memphis. We run across this company, met some people. They're really doing well. Lots of money being made. We're going to introduce it to a few of our close friends first when we get home. And I want you to see it. And not would you look at it, but I want you to see it. Okay? Now, again, I said I only got a minute, so when they started asking questions, that's when it was easy for me to say, I told you I only got a minute. I got about 40 more people to call right now. Be at my house tomorrow night at 8 o'clock if you want to get in on it. And that's all I would tell them. And so I made 85 phone calls on my way home during that meeting and on my way home from that meeting. So that's only half the town, you know, that's all I call it. But out of the 85, I had 50 that said no. And that sounds kind of crazy. It doesn't to me anymore, but it sounded to me kind of crazy at that time. Why? All I asked is, would you look at something? All I said was, I found an opportunity to make some money. I'm going to let my friends in on it. Why would you say no without knowing what you're saying no to? That goes back to, they say no, N-O, because they don't K-N-O-W, know what's really going on. And so, but numbers made up for that. Because out of 85, the 50 that said no, 35 said, I'll be there. Or I'll try to be there. Let me define, I'll try to be there. I ain't coming. So 17 showed up. 18 of those 35 lied to me. Here's what's real important. On my list of 85 people that Donna and I began to make at the meeting, I put a star by 12 of them. I know they'll do it. I know they will. After all the calls, not one of the 12 would even look. So if you just make a list of who you think's going to do this, you'll be out of business really quick. Really quick. Because you don't know who will and you don't know who won't. That's the reason you call them all. So out of the 17, 13 joined. So then we create sense of urgency and fear of loss. We want to do this again tomorrow night. We want to do it again tomorrow morning, again tomorrow afternoon, again tomorrow evening, especially with Zoom. You can do it several times a day. And each time, it's creating more and more and more momentum. So that's what got us off to a really fast start. And again, I learned that in the dairy business as well. Rather than just focusing on those 12, and some of you are doing that now. You're just working on, boy, if I can get old Joe in. You know, you're just working on old Joe. I got him up on a grease rack or something. I don't know what that means, but people say that all the time. And really, they just need to be spending that time and energy focusing on approaching more people. In the dairy business, it was, if you wanted more milk, you don't squeeze harder on one, you get more cows. If that don't make sense, I can't help you. That's just the way it is. So who do you talk to? Again, you make a list. Everybody that you know, even if you don't know them, but know their name. Maybe you saw them on a billboard and their name's up there with their phone number. Saw you on a billboard, you know. Whoever, it doesn't matter. You can make money or you can make an excuse. It's just people. Yeah, it's just people. You can go outside of this convention center right now and pick up a rock and throw it, and wherever it lands, you could walk over to the rock and just stand there, and the first person that come by, you could say, hey, you're the first person after the rock. I mean, that'll get it started, right? So, last but not least, you got a phenomenal group of people here this weekend teaching you. A group of people that's willing to share all their talents and efforts to help you build your lifestyle. It's a little different than it is at work or the JOB. And I would encourage you to latch on to that. That's the first thing I did when we joined earlier this year. We was in Oklahoma in March. And we was able to go RVP in 30 days doing that. Just by sheer, just getting people, getting butts in seats. Getting butts in seats is what it really boils down to. But here's why you need that witness. Here's why you need what Mike was talking about. And edifying that person. Throw it to, you know, here he is, you know, the zillionaire, and he's approaching a prospect, and he's promoting a newer person in the business. Because it's a third-party story. We give you, I'll kind of wrap up with a little story that I heard of the other day. And it actually had to do with Mike and Patrick. They were racing their Bentleys down a street in town, and there was this sweet little lady out in her yard working on her, you know, prize roses and her different planters and bushes and things like that. And they swerved off the road, and one of them ran through the bushes, ran up, tore every rose bush down, went through a beautiful landscape, back up on the road, and they both stopped for a second, and then they sped off. Well, she knew them. So she gave them a call and said, guys, why did you do this? What, you know? And they said, well, we didn't do that. What do you mean? I saw you. I saw you, both of you in your Bentleys, and you know, it's just crazy. I said, no, we were in another town. We didn't even do that. So you get mad, you get a lawyer, you take them to court, you go to the court, and you tell the judge exactly what happened. And the judge turns to them and says, well, boys, I said, nope, we was in another town, Judge. Now, is the judge going to find them guilty for that, yes or no? No, they're not. But the same scenario happens, and then your neighbor, you bring them up on the stand, and they say, yeah, I was out watering my yard, and I saw it too. I know those guys, and I seen them racing. I seen them through the window, and I knew who they were. And then when they sped off, I even recognized their personalized license plates. You know, stud 1 and stud 2. You know, I recognize that, so I know it was them. Now, how many of you think the judge is going to find the Razor Boys guilty of that? Let me hear from you. Yeah. And what happened? Was it more facts? Another story. It was a witness. It was another story. See, facts tell and stories sell. Well, you got to start right now, and you got to create your story. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to go out there and you're going to find some good people, and they're going to help you build your business together with you and create a lifestyle. You're going to find some people that are naysayers. You're going to find some people that are dream stealers. And you just got to say, you know, I'm going to do today what others won't, so I can do tomorrow what others can't. That's 100% what you got to do. Because here's what I believe. I believe in the next 5 years, this awesome company called ACN will create more 6- and 7-figure income earners than any company in history. And I don't know if there's any of them in this room. I hear some of them already in this room right here. I believe we're going to get back into arenas where there's all the way around. We do the wave. It starts here and it goes all the way around. All the way around. And this big section over here, whose section is that? Is that yours? Is that your section? I believe, again, more lives will be changed for the better over the next 5 or 6 years with this awesome company called ACN. But you got to be all in. Who's all in? ACN. Make me believe it. Who's all in? ACN.
to share his insight on mindset, leadership, and personal growth.